Right, have a quick look at these. Now these are two other rifles from my Webley collection. These are the junior rifles, I suppose, the really low end of the Webley air rifle spectrum. And these span from the very late 40s, virtually the 50s really, through to the I think the 1960s, pardon me. So what we've got here is Webley's early attempts at a junior rifle. These were contemporaries with the Mark III and the later Falcon, and the top one also just about the Hawk Mark I. So, first one, this is the earliest one, and this is a Webley Jr. This rifle was a contemporary of the Hawk, pardon me, the Mark III. And basically, these were actually made for Webley by Milbro of Scotland, Millard Brothers. And it is a design of a Diana that Milbro got after the Second World War as war reparations, and Milbro started making them as they took the Diana trade name and started making these themselves, virtually identical to this, but I think the pure Milbro ones were all smooth bores. They're all in 177, but I'm fairly sure that the Milbro ones were all smooth bores, whereas the ones that they made for Webley had a rifled barrel. You could get it in smooth bore, but most of them were rifled. And it's a very, very basic air rifle, really. You couldn't get much more basic if you tried. So, like I say, the basic rifle was made by Milbro, shipped in by Webley, and then all Webley did really was stamp their own markings on the top, and possibly did the final finishing, the final polishing and bluing of the rifle. So this is an early junior. These came in two different types. The very early ones, like this one, had this sort of flat truncated stock, and the later ones had a more rounded, longer stock, like on this rifle here. So this is an early junior. And the later ones also had a scope rail fitted to them, which was just a simple scope rail that was 3 spot welded on the top, and the markings were moved further along the cylinder to accommodate that. All 177, very basic. It's got a brass barrel wrapped in a sort of tin plate outer casing and held in place with a sort of tapped on bit on the end with a little fine foresight. No windage adjustment on these at all. Well, there was actually, because you could tap the sight in its little groove left and right, but you had to tap it. There was no windage adjustment on the sight itself, just straight elevation. Very basic rifle. But having said that, it's actually quite good fun to shoot. Pretty accurate. It's not bad. Very low powered. Probably bringing out something in the region of 3.5 foot-pounds. Even when new, they were under 4. So it really was a very low powered rifle, designed for youngsters to shoot in the house, and against a secure target. So no way a field rifle, basically just a plinker and a bit of a fun gun for youngsters to enjoy. Yeah, having said that, despite the rather low build quality for a Webley, it's still a passable rifle. You know, you think this was made in about 1948, something like that, 49. So it's quite old, and yet, even so, it's still pretty solid and has retained its markings. The underlever also is a simple press-in, but it does have, it's not pinned, it does have screws on the breech, so you can compensate for any slack, and also screws on the that secure the underlever. So that's the little Junior. See, Webley Jr, picked out in gold on the top. Birmingham, made in England. Nice little rifle, straightforward beach stock, no butt pad, no checkering, nothing really. About as basic as you could possibly get. Again, a press trigger. It's not a solid trigger, as you can see, it's a pressing. So cheap, cheerful, but nonetheless still pretty accurate. Now that was the first of Webley's Junior rifles, hence the name the Junior. But they then made a slightly more upmarket version that they called the Ranger, and that's what this one here is. So you see, Webley Ranger, Webley and Scott, made in England. Now this is a slightly improved version of this, really. So it's got a slightly different stock, a much more defined pistol grip. It's got what Webley call cording, which are these grooves that are cut in the front here to assist your grip. And this one has got a solid barrel. So it's not a brass barrel that's sleeved by tin plate, it's a solid proper barrel. They also made an improvement to the underlever part. The underlever on this is a solid bar, more akin to what you're used to seeing on Webley's other rifles, and it's a much more solid beast all round really. It shares the same sights, straightforward vertical adjustable rear sight that you had to drift in the grooves, and a straightforward bead. And again, this is an early Ranger, and this one again has no telescopic sight rails. The later ones had a telescopic sight rail. So again, this is a fairly early Ranger. And again, it's got a straightforward press trigger. I actually believe that the actual air cylinders and trigger mechanisms on both rifles were identical, because you can share parts on these two rifles. Really, it's only from the front of the gun that things changed, and the stock was slightly changed. So you've on the Junior, you've got pressed underlever and a brass barrel with a pressed covering on it. On the Ranger, it's a solid underlever and a solid barrel. Only available in 177 again. And again, another really nice to shoot, lightweight rifle. Same power as this, as you would expect, because it's got the same cylinder, same mainspring. So it doesn't generate any more power really. There was another rifle that came in between these, I haven't yet added to my collection, and that's rifle we call the Jaguar. Now the Jaguar was, well, basically the Jaguar was this Junior's firing mechanism. So a brass barrel, shrouded, pressed metal underlever, exactly the same as the Junior, but with the Jaguar's stock, the Ranger's stock. So the Jaguar had this stock mounted on this action, and that was about the only difference. Though all Jaguars, I think, had the scope rail. That was a common feature on them. But basically, it was just a Junior with a scope rail on it, put in a Ranger's stock. Again, only available in 177, but they came as a complete package as well. So when you bought a Jaguar, it came with a target holder, a little bottle of oil, and a small Webley telescopic sight. These things are good fun to shoot. You can have a right laugh with them, just shooting them in the house. They're very low powered, as I say, but nonetheless pretty accurate really. I mean, my eyesight's atrocious, so shooting with open sights is not the best of things, especially inside when the illumination's not so good. But at sort of 12 yards, you know, I can get reasonable results with these. Reasonable groups, I suppose, but they're just great fun rifles. So there you go, Webley Jr and a Webley Ranger, and you can see if I hold them side by side, see that the actions are exactly the same. And it's only really the barrels and the underlever that makes any difference with these. And the Jaguar, which was the third Webley youth rifle, fits right in between these two really. Like I say, it's the Junior's action fitted into the Ranger's stock. Still really well made though, really nice little rifles, great fun. Really nice part of a collector's range to collect these youth rifles. It's not all the glamour of the Mark IIIs. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad. Not bad.